My name is Judy and I'm the City Stitcher, and welcome to my Flosstube channel. Today is Monday, August the 21st. I know I had to think about that. I've been trying to practice it in my head because I keep saying it's the 20th and I'm like, no, the 20th is yesterday. The 20th was when you were supposed to be recording this, but the day got away from me, and you know, that's how life rolls. I'm also recording this on a day that is partially sunny, partially cloudy, and so I'm trying to get it in while there is some sunlight before the clouds come in. So we've had a dramatic shift in the temperatures here. Thursday or Friday, it's a huge drop, but I remember like the morning of the first day, I was like, oh my goodness, I need to bring out the winter clothes. It is absolutely freezing to death. We're back up into more normal, like into some decent temperatures. So I'm calling it around 20 degrees Celsius, which is like mid 60s. So, you know, we've cooled off quite a bit, right? Because, you know, a week, 10 days ago, we were in the mid 90s. So it's cooled off quite a bit. We're back up around 20 degrees, which is nicer. I'd like it a couple of degrees, like 22, 23, 24, 25. That would be good, but oh well. We have had some intermittent rain. It was interesting because coming into the weekend, you know, the forecast for Western Canada was that there was rain in the forecast, and I went, okay, I think that's really going to help out the firefighters. And on the news they were like, this is like the weekend that they are absolutely completely terrified of what could happen over the course of this weekend. And I was like, sorry, I thought cooler temperatures, rain in the forecast, what's the problem? And certainly, so the problem is that because it has been so warm and everything is so dry, that when you get that rainstorm, any lightning hit is going to start a fire. So they were very, very concerned about that. So the fire status in Canada, like there's several parts in Canada where we've got fires going on. It's not good. So there's, yeah, the wildfire situation is not great, particularly in the Northwest Territories. You may have seen in the news that they were evacuating, as far as I know, pretty much everyone from Yellowknife in the Northwest Territories. So it's about 20,000 people. Some of them were coming out by plane because it's just so far away. And, you know, getting onto a plane and all you are allowed to take is one carry-on. One carry-on. And you're evacuating for who knows, and maybe going back to nothing. So some of them were being evacuated here into Calgary. So 5,000 of them were coming here. So yeah, they were, for people that were driving out, they were having to send up gasoline. So the tanker trucks with gasoline to set up sort of emergency gas stations so that people can fuel up as they're getting out, because there's no way you can get to where you need to be going on one tank of gas if you're coming out of the Northwest Territories. So thinking about all of those people, you know, thinking about there's been lots of things, devastation in lots of areas. Still thinking about the people of Maui. So it's been a wildfire season to remember. So anyway, with that, this is a channel about cross stitch and some crocheting, and sort of what I've accomplished since the last time I recorded. I usually say over the last week. It's been about a week since I last recorded, although the week before that it was a couple, anyway, never mind that. Since I last recorded, the cross stitching and the crocheting I've done. So if you are new to my channel, thank you for stopping by and spending some time with me. And as always, many, many thanks to those of you who come back regularly and check in and comment. Yeah, it's great to have all of those people. So thank you for stopping by. So let's have a quick chat about the comments from last week. So thank you to the many comments about the people who are going like, we were ready to send out search parties. We're glad to know you're okay. We were starting to get worried. Yes, I should have just left some, I should have recorded like some 5-minute thing saying like, sorry, I'm delaying. I'll be back. I'm fine. So I need to do better the next time I completely flake out on you. Generally, I'm usually okay. Yeah. So sorry about that, but thank you for the concern. So yes, I'm totally doing fine. So a couple of questions came up. So Katie was asking how many on that JBW Designs, the remembrance piece that I did for the Queen that was all done in beads. She asked me how many bead packs I used. So the answer is for sure, I would say 2. There is a possibility that I might have had a partial bead pack that I started with. I wasn't particularly keeping track of the bead packs because I had several in stash, so I just went, you know, if this one runs out, you know, I've got more in my stash. And given that I was using Mill Hill beads, you know, even if I ran out, running out to the local needle workshop and getting another packet of Mill Hill beads wouldn't be a problem, and I wouldn't have any color concerns. But I would say if you were planning on doing that and you were planning on doing it all in beads, I would say at least 2. Potentially 2 and a bit, but I don't remember that clearly. But I would say at least 2 would get you there, if mostly there, as far as I know. And then Judy asked a question about what do I do with all my finished pieces. Well, as anybody who's been watching the channel for the last little bit is probably sitting there rolling their eyes going, not much. There certainly are pieces that I have targeted for framing. I have been absolutely a total slacker about taking anything to the framers. I do need to get my act together and make an appointment and take some things in. It's sort of, as you're going through all the things that you have to do, you know, it's not, unfortunately, it's not actually one of the top 10 priorities, because, you know, if I don't get the cross stitch piece framed in the next, you know, 2 years, you know what happens? Nothing. So, I do have quite a bit of wall space in this house, and in fact there is some wall space that is blank because I have targeted pieces that I want to finish and have framed to put on those walls. But I have acknowledged, you know, with many people, there's always going to come a point where you just go, I don't have any more wall space. So I have been sort of working into sort of what I'm stitching, some smaller pieces, some things that I have targeted as soft finishes. So whether it's, you know, like those little, like a stand things, or I've got a couple of things that I'm targeting that I'm going to put on like a styrofoam block, you know, whether it's making it into a small pillow or, you know. Now, have I done any of the completed pieces that I have targeted for those kinds of finishes and actually executed on that fully finished object? Of course not. I need to work on that. I have things ready to go and concepts ready to go. It's the execution. And part of it is that I usually come down to the end and go like, of the time that I've got, would I rather work on finishing the item or actually get more stitching in? And usually the get more stitching in wins. But I'm targeting in my calendar for this fall that I'm going to set up some specific times where I'm going to say you are going to work on getting some of your small things that you've got ready for, like, so not framed, the soft finishes, and you're actually going to work on getting those done. That's what I tell myself. Check back later this year and see if I've managed to execute on any of that. I'm also going to say, like, I keep looking at my hair today going like, it's just, I was also looking at sort of the screen captures and going like, remember when I used to have completely straight hair? And I always think going, if you had told me like even 3 years ago that I would have curly hair, I would have said that you were an insane, crazy person. Anyway, having curly hair is an interesting life. it's, I'm really glad that my hairdresser said to me, because her hair is naturally curly, she said, she said, like, the level of consistency that you were able to get with your, like, bone straight hair and what it was going to look like is not something you're going to be able to achieve with curly hair. Now, if I dried my hair straight, I can achieve my straight hair flawlessly. But I am trying to pretend that I'm getting used to having curly hair. Anyway, so it's just because I'm looking at my hair in the camera going like, yeah, anyway, every day is a new adventure with the hair. All right, with that, let's get into the stitching. Lots of things to show, several things to show today. All right, so let's talk about my Sunday ABC project, which is Little House Needleworks Winter ABCs. So this is what it's supposed to look like. I am stitching this on a 28 count Springfield Sage Lugana using the called for colors, I'm pretty sure. If not, check the notes below. And I have finished it. So last week, the only thing I had left to do was to put in these flowers here in the center, probably these little snowflakes, probably 3 of them, and the little bit of snow down here at the bottom. So I got all of that completed this week. So another one, let's see if I can get the whole thing in. Yeah, here we go. So another ABC project gets completed this year, which I think is great. I do know what the next ABC project is going to be, but I'm still waiting on threads to arrive. I had a little bit of I was trying to track the shipment, and it was one of those where it's like, we've received it, but we haven't updated any of the information. So I think it might be hung up in like a mail distribution center, but anyway. And I will say, at Stitching at the Library on Saturday, they were giving me a little bit of a hard time saying, for someone who has a 5-year plan, how is it you're getting caught without your threads for this piece that you're planning on starting? And the answer is very simple. Originally, when I started this year, I was planning on getting one of, so Spring ABCs by Little House, not that one, that's winter. Spring ABCs by Little House Needleworks was my ABC project for this year, and it was fully kitted up. And when I finished that in April, it's like, time to start the other one. So then I worked on winter ABCs. So the fact that I'm a little behind getting the threads in for the third unexpected, not expected to be started this year project, I don't feel bad about in the slightest. It wasn't supposed to be started for 2 years, so it's not kitted up. It will be kitted up as soon, once I get these specific threads that I've ordered, and it's actually for the next ABC one plus the one after that, then I will be able to kit up actually the next 2 ABC projects, because so it's really some variegated threads that I've ordered, and based on what those the actual variegated threads look like in real life, not just what they look like on camera, will help me fill in the rest of the palette that I need for my next 2 ABC projects. So I enjoyed the teasing for those at the library who were sort of going, for someone who has a 5-year plan, you don't seem to be doing well. And as I said to them, I'm doing totally fine because my ABCs are 2 years ahead of schedule. So I'm fine. Anyway. All right. So next up, and I was like, it's like, I swear I brought the phone out, and I did bring the phone, but I'll bet you I forgot to get the picture. So August, I am working on the From the Heart Needleart by Wendy, the August Quaker. That's not going to show up in camera very well, but it gives you the gist. And as I said last week, I'm struggling with my Quakers at the moment. So my goal for this week was purely to put in 1,000 stitches. So there is about 1,850 stitches left to go to complete this thing, and I know I want to get it done, but I seem to be struggling with it. So I said, just get 1,000 stitches in, which, you know, is more than half of what you have left to go, and just to give yourself that breathing space and see if it's helping. So I did about 1,050. So it's like 2,052 or whatever. So I still have about 800 stitches left to go. So here's where we're at. I'm using the called for glazed carrots. I think this is Weeping Willow, but I did revert back to the called for DMC for the blue color in here. I did have the Classic Coloroworks that was called for, but when I looked at it, this was a little more of an intense color compared to the Classic Coloroworks skein that I had, and I thought that was going to work better in this piece, so I went with the DMC. The other things that I've changed, because you know I have to change something. So a couple of things. This center motif has been changed. It was a heart. And you know I don't necessarily love hearts. I said, look, there's a heart here at the top and I'm leaving that intact. So, you know, there you go. There's your one heart, but this one got changed out. This was also a heart, and I just made it into sort of a different version of this. So the heart in the center was essentially solid, so I just made this motif solid. The heart over here, I sort of, you know, did it slightly differently just to make it different. So I have about 800 stitches left to go on this, which hopefully will get completed this week, and then we can, you know, call it done and move on to another Quaker, because at that point, we're probably, only 4 or 5 days away from September, which is when we start the next Quaker. So it will have taken me all month, which I think it's getting me Quakered out, but we'll talk a little bit about that when we get into plans. But there is my August Quaker From the Heart Needleart by Wendy. I'm stitching this on a 40 count White Verdal, like I say, using 2 of the called for Classic Colorworks and the called for DMC for the blue, which was $37.68. All right. So what I spent the rest of my stitching time on this week was I'm hauling out an older whip. Anyway, wait till we talk about plans. But anyway, so I hauled out my temperature tree. This is by Stitchin' Mommy off of her Etsy shop, which I started in August of 2021. It is now August of 2023, and it is not done yet. I was hoping to get this completed in 2022, and it just didn't happen. So when I was looking at the things in my to be worked on carry forward whip pile, I was like, let's just work on this one. I thought I took a before picture, but I don't remember what device I took it on. So anyway, so here's where the tree is at now. So what I did is I had started on this December branch, but had not finished the branch, nor had any of the leaves been worked on. So all of December has now been completed. And I'm losing my light here. It's a very colorful branch. I was trying to keep track of how many colors. 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, maybe 12 colors, 12 gradations in that one branch alone. So the warmest day was December the 1st, and the coldest day was the 27th of December. Yeah, that's 27. So pretty big shift. I kept saying to myself that I should actually go back and get the data, because I laughed, because even when I pulled the stuff out of the project bag, all I had was the sheet that said, here is the color that you need for each of the 31 leaves in December. It didn't have the temperatures on them. The temperatures are in a spreadsheet on my computer upstairs in the office. But I just laughed, just like going, it'd be interesting. Like, that's got to be a pretty big swing for daily high. Like, good grief, green. Whew. Anyway. So we're coming down to a close. I did do some fill-in here in the center of the trunk. And when I hauled it out, well, here's the story. It took me longer to get working on this than I wanted, because I wanted to finish the branch first. And I got into my project bag and I went, well, there's cocoa bean, and I know it's not cocoa bean because the cocoa bean that I feel like I bought 47 skeins and I could never get another cocoa bean that matched the cocoa bean I started with. And there was a Weeks Dye Works where I went, it's not that. And I had 2 skeins of DMC where I'm like, there's no way I did that. Anyway, I was like, I swear I was using an anchor to fill in the rest of the tree. There's no anchor in the bag. Thank heavens I kept a note in my X-Stitch app on this project and said it's anchor 1050 is what I was filling it in. So when I look at it, I can see where the difference is. I'm not sure that anybody else would dramatically look at it and go, oh my goodness, you can totally see where the difference is, where you were using cocoa bean and where you stopped using cocoa bean. But we are where we are, and I'm not going to go back and fix it. It's going to be what it's going to be. Now, like I say, other than having to spend quite a bit of time trying to figure out what the anchor color was and why there was no anchor in the bag and where in the world did the anchor go, because it would have had to have been in a floss away. Anyway, I found it. I found it in its floss away bag, somewhere where it absolutely should not have been. Anyway, solved it, kept going. And so now we get to the interesting part, where is what I'm doing in the tree trunk. And even over the course of this week, while I've been working on this, I've had like about 3 different variations of what I'm planning on doing and what I'm doing here along the bottom. So hopefully this week I will make a big dent in that. I have some concepts of what I want it to look like and what I'm going to do. I don't have it completely mapped out. But yeah, so check back next week. I think it would be lovely. Like, there is not a ton left to go on this. So I really think if I spent my time this week wisely, I could I'm hoping to get both my August Quaker and my temperature tree. So August Quaker, I'm hoping will get finished this week. Whether or not the temperature tree gets finished this week, I would like to get it finished in August, because then it would take a carry forward whip out of my whip pile, which would be great. I am stitching this on 32 count Summer Sky Jobelin by Witchelt. I came up with my own color conversion for the gradations that I was using. And I always look back at this year going, it was a very warm year. It was a very warm year. Like, we had cold in February and we had cold here in December, but like, look at how many greens there were in November. And this was the year that like we were getting up above 35 degrees Celsius, which is not often. Although even this summer we've had a few days that were sort of 33, 34. But yeah, this is the year I remember. It's because like there was probably at least 2 nights where I had to go sleep in the basement because it was just so hot upstairs. This year I have not had to sleep in the basement. So anyway, so maybe 35 degrees is where. So I don't have a house my house does not have air conditioning. So maybe that's my over 35 sends me into the basement. Doesn't even send me onto the main floor, sends me into the basement. But anyway, so there's my temperature tree. So we made progress this week, which is great. So once I get sort of the center, what I'm planning on doing here in the base of the tree colored in, well, I need to do the outside outline over here on this side, and then it's just fill in. So that will be some some easy, not thought-provoking stitching, which would be great. So yeah, there's my temperature tree. It's coming along. And then on Saturday, for stitching at the library, I am working on Penelope's Posies by Lindy Stitches. I looked it up. So I think the kit came out in either like 2019 or 2017. The kit is no longer available. And I think even getting a hard copy of this is going to be challenging. You absolutely can purchase this as a PDF from the Lindy Stitches website, and that link will be in the notes section down below. In last week's video, I did find at least one store that said they had this in paper copy in stock, and I think it was a completely different store that said they had the pins available for purchase. So I will check those links again this week and see if it still shows that they have these things in stock. And if they're still there, I will put the links in the notes section down below in case you're looking for this. Because I purchased this as a kit, it did not come with the floss, but it did come with 32 count White Lugana. So I'm using the kit fabric, and I am using my own color palette. And I will put that in the notes section down below because I have now used all of the colors that I'm planning on using on this. So here's where we're at now. And for anybody who was at the library and saw this when we left, yes, there's more stitching here than when I left the library. So when I left the library, I had gotten the aqua blob, I call them flower blobs. I got the aqua blob, the blue blob, and the purple blob were the three that I added while I was at the library. I did all the rest of this after I got home. Yes, we spent 3 hours at the library together. I got 3 flower blobs done. They're each 44 stitches, which is not a lot of stitching, but that's not why we go to the library, right? We're not going to the library because it's going to be our absolutely most productive time ever, right? We all know that. Anyway, so I did come home and I did do a bit more. So I now have at least one flower blob of all of the colors that are going to be used in this particular piece, which are different from the called for. And like I say, I will put those, it's all DMC, and I will put those in the note section down below in case you're wanting to know. I think when I looked at this in Markup RXP, I think I'm at 40%. So still a ways to go, but you know, for the person who originally kind of said, is it going to take you 5 years to work on this? The answer is no. It will be done hopefully this year. So I'm keeping this as my library project, so I will work at it while I'm at the library, and I may work on it when I'm home that day from the library, but I don't work on it the rest of the time. So the next time I will bring this out is the next time we are doing getting together at the library. So yeah. So that is the stitching that I got accomplished this week. Let's talk about some Stashquisitions. Okay, so, sorry, just dumping things out of the bag because they were in the bag to keep them contained. Okay, it's the most randomest bunch of things ever. So these are Stashquisitions from the Stitching Corner in Cochrane. So from Stitchopolis, I got Welcome Foolish Mortals. They had this stitched up, and I thought it looked fun to do. So I ordered it. The interesting thing is that this spider is no longer available. The copyright on this is 2019, but I do have them looking for other you know, from their other suppliers, a spider that will look there. One of the store owners goes, I think you should use this spider. And the other owner and I look at her and go, no, that is not correct. So the owner that agrees with me goes, I'm looking for you. Now, so is this going to get worked on imminently? No. Worst case scenario, will I figure out something when I finally start working on it? Yes. It'll be fine. But yeah. So I got that. Now, I got a bunch of DMC floss. And you're going to laugh when you see it. So let me just pull it, get it, you know, mediumly organized. Okay. This is the DMC that I purchased from the Stitching Corner. Quite a while ago, I did tell you that there were some new DMC colors that were now available as individual skeins, and they were sort of in the range of 38.8, fill in the number, to 38.9 something. And I had seen somewhere that somebody said that those colors were being discontinued. And so when I went into the Stitching Corner, I said to the ladies, I'm like going, wait a minute, I read somewhere that these are, like, someone had them as being discontinued. Now, and I think it was on an online shop, but I also know some of the online shops are sort of in their discontinued categories. There are things that have been discontinued, but some shops sometimes put in their discontinued category things that they are no longer planning on carrying. So I just wasn't sure what this was, and they were like, no. It's not that the colors have been discontinued, but previously you were only able to get these colors in a packet where you had to buy like 16 different colors of DMC. It was a specific packet of colors. And then they brought them out as individual colors, which was great. And so I had gone and I'd purchased, you know, probably 2 of everything, because I just went, let's just make sure I've got DMC in the house. And now they're being discontinued. So when the ladies at the Stitching Corner confirmed it, so they have been discontinued as being skeins that you are able to buy as individual skeins. But you can still get them, they're back to selling them in that packet of 16, which anyway. So as soon as they said that, I went, okay, let's go straight to the DMC drawer. Let's open it up and let's see what's in there. Remind me of the colors. And of the colors I like, so if it was yellow or orange, I didn't get those, but really I took, I bought what they had left of the colors that I thought that there was a likelihood I would potentially end up using in something. So I cleaned them out, you know, so it's not like it's 47 skeins. It was, you know, in some cases, like, who says I'm not going to use a couple of purples or whatever. So anyway, so I ended up buying everything that they had of these individual skeins in the 38.8 range. So if you're interested in those color palettes without necessarily having to buy the packet of 16 different colors, and you do have, check your needlework shops if you're interested in getting them, because DMC is no longer selling them as being colors that your shops can buy as an individual color. They can only get them in the box of 16. So I stashed up. Have I had any pattern so far yet that has used any of those colors? No, but that's not the point. I'm planning on stitching for quite a number of years left in my lifetime, so you just never know when I'm going to need those. They also had, so this is Cottage Garden Threads Sweet Pea, and there's a project I've got in mind that may use this, but while they had it there and it was hanging out and was very visible, I went, yeah, that, like, I quite frankly, I looked at it and went, oh yeah, that might work. So I just picked it up. All right. Okay. Now, let's get these. Okay. Oh, not that. Okay. I got a whole bunch of charms. Like I say, I've been going through my stash, looking at some of the older charts that I have, because there's a distinct possibility that some of the threads or some of the specialty items, which at the time I didn't purchase because I was like, it's okay. Anyway, I'm now going, I need to do this. So there was one chart that I had in my stash that it called for a button pack, and the button pack is no longer available. But like I say, I worked with the ladies at the Stitching Corner, and we went through the chart and looked at the options, and we believe we've been able to source all of the buttons from that button pack as individual buttons, so that I can now work on it. You know, so a stocking, candy canes, bear. I'm sure you, at this point, you'll be able to cotton on that it's Christmas related, you know, whoops, like holly and ivy leaves, of which there were several of those that I needed. Yes. So all of these were to go with a chart that I did not buy the button pack, or the charm pack when I bought the pattern, which should have known better, but anyway, we were still able to source them, so that was great. I did have them bring in a Canadian maple leaf from Just Another Button Company for the Shepherd's Bush Summer Notes. I think it's too big. I'm having them order a different one. I'm keeping this one because you just never know where I may choose to throw in a Canadian flag button as opposed to stitching something. So I kept it anyway, but they are ordering a different one for me, and I'll see if that one works better. Okay. I also, they had ordered in some specific, I want to say that they're bicones, but there were some specific beads, again, that was called for an older pattern that I had, and so they ended up buying a bunch of them. And I knew that, you know, I'd been very specific about how many I needed for my project, including a couple of extras and all that kind of stuff, and so they very graciously counted them out. And then I said to myself, I know that they bought more, and anyway, so I took, I think they buy them in bags of like 100, and I needed like 53 for the project that I was going to do, and I just went, this is just ridiculous. Yeah, 3mm bicone crystals, and I just went, forget it. Just give me all the rest of them. You know, while they're here, while they're fine, you just never know what I'm going to do with them. I'm going to get the rest of them while we're here, because it would give me, you know, quite a bit left to do. So I bought everything they brought in. I ended up taking it all. They also ordered in a couple of Mill Hill Treasures. Actually, they didn't order these in. They had these in stock. Like I say, was going through some things and just went, this is, these are fall leaves. There you go. That's a, sorry for the glare. I need 4 of them for the project that they're called for. So two packages, which they had in stock, and so I got those. And then I was talking to them about the ribbon embroidery for my Gifts of the Magi, and so they do have silks in stock, and so I really just, it's green. I keep looking at it saying, I think it might be, I always look at it and go like, is it slightly bigger than the one that I need for what I'm doing? Anyway, I specifically went for green because worst case scenario, if something goes horribly wrong with the ribbon that I already have for the Gifts of the Magi, this will work. And it gives me, I've got probably three meters of this is what I've got. So I've got lots to practice with, more than I probably ever need, but just in case weird things happen with silk ribbons, I just went better to be safe than sorry. And if I end up only ever using this for practice, oh well. So yeah. So Char, like stay tuned, because depending on how you're doing with your ribbon your search for ribbon that you need for the Gifts of the Magi, you might end up needing this. Anyway, Char, I also haven't sent you the thing. Want to know why? Because I couldn't find the locket. Don't worry, had a big heart attack about that, but I have now located it. Yeah, had a big heart attack. Should have taken the picture immediately when I was talking about it so that I could send it off and get it back into its bag. Anyway, I've now located it. I need to get that picture done for you so that I can put it back in the bag for the gold and not freak out about it. All right, so those are my Stashquisitions for this week. Let's talk about plans. So I will say I had fabulous, awesome, amazing plans for what I was going to do and get accomplished in August, and I have failed miserably at what those plans were going to look like for a variety of reasons, all of which are totally valid. You know, as I said, you know, when I wasn't regular with my Flosstube, it was because I was outside and enjoying the summer, and those are all good things too. But sort of from what I wanted to get accomplished this month, I feel like I'm really behind. And my answer is that's just how it's going to be. There's no way I'm going to be able to catch up on what I was going to do. And that's fine. As I say, I said this even at the library where I'm like going, what I am working on with my cross-stitching is not life-saving cancer research. You know, life-saving cancer research is critical and could benefit millions and radically change people's lives. That's not what my cross-stitching is. It was really funny because they caught me up short and went, but I'm like, it can be very beneficial from a mental health perspective. Absolutely. I don't necessarily say that my cross-stitching is on par with life-saving cancer research. But anyway, you know, so I didn't reach my goals. You know what happens? Nothing. You know, so there are some whips that I was hoping to make progress on that I didn't make progress on this month. Yeah, they're still whips. It's fine. Nothing's going to happen. I'm okay. And I just need to realize that, yeah, I did more summer things, spent time outside, which is great. I will need to remember those lovely, warm, summer, hot days that I spent outside in the sunshine on those cold winter days, which I think are coming. So yes, so I'm behind. So I've sort of adjusted my goals for what I was hoping to get accomplished this month. I've narrowed them down, which is why it's sort of like at this point, I really just need to make sure I for sure have to get that August Quaker done. And I really feel like I need to get the temperature tree done, because then at least I feel like I have worked on a whip in my carryover whip pile and it has been completed, which would be positive. So that's going to be my focus. It is notable about how reluctant, you know, even this week where I said, okay, you're just going to do your 1,000 stitches and then you don't have to do anything with your Quaker anymore, right? Just get your 1,000 stitches in. Yep, you didn't get it completed, but then you can work on something else. I still dragged my feet getting the Quaker done, or the 1,000 stitches into the August Quaker. Hopefully this week it will go faster, because I'll be saying to myself, you're coming into the final stages, right? If you can just get this like 800, it's not even as much as you did last week, less than that. And then it will be done. Hopefully I can get that one knocked out. But it has made me spend some time trying to figure out what I'm going to do in September, because I have another Quaker starting. So at the beginning of September, I've got a number of current existing whips carried forward that are going to have to be worked on in the beginning of September. And so I'm figuring if I alternate my days. So work on the Quaker one day, work on one of those carry forward whips that I have specific September goals. So Quaker, another project, back to the Quaker, work on one of the other carry forward whips. It will be very interesting to me to see how that works, and if I end up making more progress on my Quaker by doing it that way. I'm a little bit concerned because, you know, it'll take me several days this week to get the Quaker finished, which means, you know, I'm really going to only have like a 4-day break before I start my next Quaker. So we'll see how we do. I'm still working on it. I do want to get all of the Quakers done this year, which is not great because one of my August goals was to get the April Quaker done, and April hasn't even been brought out because August isn't even finished. So August needs to get finished. We'll see if, yeah, I was going to say, let's see if I can do some work on, don't put your pressure on that. Let's get August done and let's see where we are. I'm losing my light. All right. That's my plans. Let's see how it goes. Let's talk about crocheting. Okay, so I did, at stitching at the library, I did take my, I did take the shawl to show. So I did make more progress on this this week. There's some still straggly ends. I have finished the second ball. I did take it to the library specifically, yes, with a partial end here, because I feel like, and this was the discussion we had at the library, that it does need to be blocked. It does need to be blocked, which will add a little bit of width here, width, length. It's all this way. It's totally fine. It's this direction where I feel like there should be a bit more. And even with blocking, I feel like there should still be a bit. There should be a bit more length here for me to feel like it's the right length. So we had a discussion about that at the library, and so I'm gonna start in on a third ball, not use an entire third ball, but add certainly probably, I'm saying it's 2 more 4-row repeats, and then we'll see if I'm happy. Block it and then see if I'm happy. And then at that point, I know, yeah, we're coming up to the end of August, blah, 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 etc., etc. I'm still going to start the shawl with the, that bloom yarn that I got and work on that. But yeah, really like this. And it was interesting because Cheryl from Happy Handcraft Studio, because I brought the yarn in, and I laughed because she said, I've looked at that yarn in Michael's and went, it looks interesting, but I couldn't figure out, you know, exactly what it would look like or what I would do with it. So she kind of laughed that, you know, there's me, the not yarn person, who went, oh yeah, no, totally. Yeah. So I'm very happy with this. Like I say, I have more of, this is loops and, grief, where is my, where's the bag? This is loops and threads flex in the colorway, I want to say it's powder blue. Yes. So anyway, so I clearly have my next ball ready to go. Like I say, I'm not planning on using the whole ball. I just need to add a little bit more, and then I think this will be ready to be blocked, and then I can start on my next one. I know, who am I? Wait till we get to a year in review. Anyway. So there's that one. And because so as we all know, I started working on that shawl because the temperatures were really warm, and working on my Afghan was like it was not good. So when the temperatures cooled down, I was like, ooh, there's a couple of evenings I did come in here and went, ooh, it's chilly. Now I think regularly it wouldn't be chilly. It's just because it was such a difference from when we were in the mid 90s that it felt too cold. So I did do some crocheting on my Afghan. I did take this to the library as well so that they could see it. And so here's my sad little marker about what I accomplished between the last video and this video, which is really just one section of the teal colors. Now, at this point, I am through my first ball of the colors. Like I'm on ball, like I feel like 147 of the white. That's an exaggeration, but I'm through the first ball of all of the colors, the 4 colors that I've used in this Afghan. And I have, for the width of the Afghan that I've made, which is, I have no idea how many stitches it is, because I just sort of crocheted my first chain until I went, okay, compared to another Afghan that I have, I was like going, okay, that's about right. And then I started. So I got 17 rows for each of these colors out of that first ball. I would say I would expect that I would have slightly more rows out of the white than the 17, just because it's 2 rows. I have a whole sentence here. There are 2 rows back to back, right? So anyway, I just had him, I was like, why are you not carrying it up the sides? And that's because every time you put in a color, you end up on the wrong side. Never mind. I'm like, because I was like going, I keep having ends and they're sewed in. Wait a minute, why did I? Anyway, I can't carry it up the sides because every other color I end up on the wrong side. Never mind. I'm doing it right. It's fine. Anyway, so I only got a little bit in. Now that the temperatures are cooling down, you know, I can see me making, you know, we'll back to be making some progress on this because, you know, it'll be okay to hang out in this room in an evening working on an Afghan while watching something. Anyway, so made a little bit of progress on that. Like I say, I'm totally fine that I didn't make huge progress because right now it doesn't need to be. You know, this is for me, for the guest room in my house. It doesn't need to be finished anytime soon. Upside, it has a targeted home. All right, let's talk about Stashquisitions for crocheting, of which I have a few. These are Jay's fault. Jay kept saying to me that I needed to get a Ravelry account. And I kept saying to him, I don't want a Ravelry account because, you know, it's like black hole 2. Cheryl has led me into the black hole of crocheting, which unfortunately I'm really enjoying. Anywho. But I was doing something, and this would have been several weeks ago, and I was doing something, and the only way I could do what I needed to do was actually, I think it's because I needed to do a search, and the only way you can do the search that I wanted to do was I needed to get set up a Ravelry account. So I set up I set up a Ravelry account. Thanks, Black Hole 2. Because they've got that ridiculous thing where you can go like, if you have this yarn, what can you do with it? And really part of it was because, so I found this yarn, which of course is discontinued. So this is from Caron when they were doing a Pantone collection. Like, sorry, these are So My colors. And I acknowledge that on the Yarnspirations, who is the parent company of Caron Yarn, they had some free patterns on what to use with this. And in fact, my final decision is I am planning on making a scarf from the Yarnspirations pattern for this. I just need to get what this was paired with was a cream yarn, which has also been discontinued. So I'm not worried about that. I do need to get a white yarn to go with this because it's going to be white with this as opposed to cream because that's me. But yeah, this is the one that sent me. It's like, let's see who's got this, who's done projects with this Karen yarn. So yeah, I got the one skein. As far as I could tell, even on the internet, I think there's only one skein left in the US available for this. Of course, it's in the US shipping. I think whoever it was that had it in the US, I think it was going to be like $20 US to ship this up to me in Canada, and that was not worthwhile. But I did find someone in Canada online who was destashing, and they had this one, and so I got it because it has been discontinued. These two, these are Red Heart Unforgettable. So I did get a couple of a number of skeins of these. This is again just to make a poncho. And this is also Red Heart Unforgettable. So this one is Dragonfly. There we go. So let's do the Red Heart Unforgettable in the colorway Dragonfly. And then this one is Pearly. I just looked at this and went, yes, you know, sort of lavender gray, blah, blah, blah. To me, that's like a January, February color palette. Anyway, this to me is like a fall, you know, like October palette. I know. Am I going to have any of these ready for any of those time periods? Nobody knows. That's not really the point, right? Anyway. So I got them when I found them because of Ravelry. Thanks, Jay. Your fault. Because, you know, I like blaming people for things. I'm totally fine if you blame me for enabling you to purchase things. I'm totally fine with that, too. I'm sure Jay's like going, ha ha, I told you Ravelry was going to be good. Anyway, it's fine. Anyway, so those are my Stashquisitions from the crocheting side of life. All right, with that, we're coming up on an hour, so I'm going to wrap it up because it's really clouding over and I'm really losing all of my light. I feel like I need to turn on some lights here, but anyway. Okay, with that, announcements. I don't have any announcements for when the next Stitching at the Library is. I need to wait a little bit later in this week because there's one other date that I'm checking. For anybody who is watching who does normally come to Stitching at the Library, I'm just going to give you a little bit of a heads up right now. Certainly in September, the weekends that were available for me to check into booking, I've been having terrible luck. I have booked a library for a Sunday afternoon. I'm still trying to see if I can't get a Saturday, but right now, when I found the block of time that was available, where I could get 3 hours in a row, so far it was only on a Sunday afternoon. So just a little bit of a heads up, like I say, to any of you out there watching who are regularly Stitching at the Library people, that for September we may end up needing to meet on a Sunday afternoon. Still, hopefully this week, one of the other Saturdays will come up for availability for booking, so we'll see what I can do. All right, with that, we're going to wrap it up because I feel like I'm sitting here in the dark. So yeah, so I hope everybody is staying safe. You know my line, safety first, safety first, safety first. Again, watching the people evacuating out of Yellowknife, like, it's not good. Certainly hearing the stories coming out of Maui, the people trying to escape from the fire, yeah, horrible, horrific stories and really tragic outcomes for a lot of people. So, and it was interesting, I was having a conversation with another friend of mine where he just said, like, wildfires are so unpredictable, and I think back to when the big wildfires that were burning in Fort McMurray, Alberta, you know, things seemed to be going okay, and like it was like in a very, very small amount of time because of the wind and something, you know, like it turned on them so fast. So safety first, safety first. You know, the hurricane that was coming in and hitting California, yeah, lots of weather events all over the place. So be aware of what's happening, be ready to go. Like, if you're anywhere close to anything that's potentially happening, just make sure you're prepared to go, because it's better off being alive. Sounds horrible, but better alive. Anyway, so with that, I hope everybody's staying safe. I hope everybody's staying healthy. I hope you're finding some time to do some stitching, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Take care.